I have a story, a book that I wrote from my TEDx talk that a guy wrote me a letter it was an American citizen from a Japanese prison and said he had gotten my book. Now, I have no idea how he got my book because he didn't tell me, and how my book inspired him and motivated him to write his own story while he was there, because it was one of those scams of, hey, give us X amount of money and we'll turn it into this and blah, blah, blah. It was just so heartfelt that he got my book and that it inspired him and gave him hope to do something that would have value while he was there to maybe help someone else. So you just never know whose hands your book is going to get into.
Welcome to Beyond the Business Plan. I'm LeAnn Lyon, your guide on this journey to success. We will explore the inspiring stories of visionary leaders and groundbreaking entrepreneurs and unveil the tools and strategies that can empower you to manage your business from anywhere in the world. Join me, LeAnn, as we learn, laugh, and take the leap towards unleashing your joyful business journey. And let's make it happen now.
My guest today is a media mogul, an entrepreneur, and a Wall Street Journal, USA Today international bestseller. Melanie is the founder of Elite Online Publishing, a company that has published over 3,000 books, making all of its authors #1 bestsellers. Melanie started her career by owning and operating 2 TV stations in Houston and Dallas, that's Texas, and that were worth over $100 million. She is also the co-host of the Elite Expert Insider and the Elite Publishing podcast. That's a lot of work. 2 podcasts. That's awesome. As well as a TEDx speaker. Melanie is a high-profile personality, having built 2 successful short-term rentals and raised over, I love this, $600,000 for charities through charity auction consignments. As a single mom of 2 sons, she knows what it takes to succeed. Melanie Johnson, are you there?
Hello. So good to see you, LeAnn. Thanks for having me on the show today.
So great to see you too. And for anybody listening to the podcast, you might want to jump over onto YouTube because we are wearing styling clothes today. We look so good.
We got the patterns going. I love it.
Definitely have the patterns going on here. Are you still in Texas now then?
I am. I'm in Houston. I came here to start the TV station. We started it from scratch, Channel 51, KNWS, and the plan was to stay for 5 years and then be back in Michigan. Well, it's kind of an off-color Texas joke, but they say, do you know the difference between a Yankee and a damn Yankee? And the damn Yankee stays. So that's me. I've stayed. I've been here this whole time and never went back.
I love that. Well, since I hail from Minnesota, I would be the other one because I'm still here.
Yep.
Although I have loved being in Texas, I often do get down to Houston and Dallas, both of them. And that's part of my journey as a traveling entrepreneur. That's part of what I love to do, is being able to take my business on the road with me so that I can be
Nice.
with the people that I enjoy seeing and doing business with.
So
And now your
fun.
sons, we mentioned in your bio, they're not little anymore. I believe you're an empty nester.
Well, not quite, right? And you
Almost.
think you're going to be an empty nester when went off to college. You think, oh, I'm going to be an empty nester. Then COVID happened.
Mm.
They both came home, and then let's see. I guess it's been almost 3 years. One has moved into his own house, but he's 3 minutes away from me, which I love. We're back and forth all the time. It makes it so easy to come and visit and watch his dogs and whatever. And my other one is still figuring out what he wants to do, and he is still living at home, and I just love it, because they're going to be gone before you know it. So life brings that way. Sometimes you think you're going to have an empty house, and then you don't.
Now we're talking, and I specifically don't ask a lot of questions when we first meet because I want to just go with the flow to a degree, but also just get the actual responses that you have when I ask questions here. So one of my questions is, what inspired you to start a business like that? And I have many women who have a specific answer. I'm just kind of curious if yours is going to be the same or different.
Well, sometimes God has a plan and you don't know what the plan is. And then you just have to step into the plan. So when I had the TV stations and then my husband and I got divorced and it was 2008, 2009, when everything, the whole world kind of exploded here financially. And that put me in the situation of maybe losing both of my homes. So Airbnb didn't exist then. VRBO was just out. So I figured out how to turn those homes into rentals. And that's how I started doing money, making an income, because all my income stopped. When he filed for bankruptcy after that, I had no money. Everything got taken away. It was a long-term buyout from the stations. So you have to be resourceful. And then eventually the world changed. I knew my homes would eventually go away. But during that time, I didn't feel like TV was really going to be the thing that was going to last. And as we're seeing now, shows are getting canceled. It's been a slow death for TV because I've been doing this for over 10 years. But at that time, I wanted to educate myself on digital marketing and the new age of content, because YouTube, had come out and it was just starting to trend about 12 years ago from 2009. And I thought, gosh, everyone can be their own TV station. You don't have to try and look at this. We have our own show, right?
Two of them.
And during that journey, I learned how to publish books. And another gal there who was also single, we decided to go to my vacation home that I had down in the Dominican Republic and to do a book writing retreat. We said, if we're going to go, we shouldn't just have fun. We should make money. So we're like, well, what should we do? What should we do? So we came up with doing the book writing retreat. We did it. We came back, made the books #1 bestsellers. And the next thing I knew, people were asking me to lunch, asking me for coffee. Melanie, I didn't know that you publish books. Can you help me? I have a book. So in the interim, I was doing real estate development, and my business partner, Jen Foster, I said, well, this is kind of can be a side hustle for us. Well, then the real estate market tanked again. And so my side hustle became my main hustle. Jen was a website developer and digital marketer, and we just made a great team. She lives in Salt Lake City, Utah. And believe it or not, we have 2 single moms who have been in business for 10 years. I mean, both businesses don't last more than a couple of years. And we've had just this magical partnership that has worked for us. And I remember my nephew's coming to visit me, and I'm running around doing things for the kids, and I have her on the phone, multitasking. She's multitasking. And they're like, how do you do that? How do you is that professional or is this and that? I said, but we get each other, right? We were both in the same space. So we gave each other that room to do it. So I knew I didn't want to work for somebody else. I knew I wanted to do something that I could do from anywhere, because I was still spending summers in Michigan, doing my rental house up there, and have the kids up there. So I wanted something that was flexible, I could take off to do with my kids and watch their sporting events and things. And I just knew I was more of the person that wanted to be in charge. There was a period of time that I interviewed for jobs with companies, and some of these companies were startups. And I realized I knew so much more than they did just from my journey. Nothing against them, but I'd had such an extensive journey of starting, $100 million company from scratch, that it just wasn't working. And when other doors closed and the publishing door just kept being flung wide open, I just knew that's where I needed to be.
I love it. So I heard a couple of things in there. First of all, necessity was one thing. Necessity created the need to go. Although you didn't have to start a business, you could have tried to get hired, and it sounds like you tried that route as well.
Yeah.
But then the other part, which is what I was curious if I would hear, because I do hear it from women more than men, but also from men, just that flexibility, that ability to parent in the way that you did. Because if your kids are now in their 20s, that means back then they were hitting into their early teens or somewhere around that. And that's a very busy time for parents. Not so much that we have to watch over every single thing they're doing, but you're running them places. You're starting to also realize how precious the time is with them as they get closer and closer to
I think the teenage years is when you have to hold on to your horses and really watch them more. I think you're skating on the easy times from the time they're born up to the time they're like 10, and then it gets more intense. And I grew up, my dad was an entrepreneur. He had his own insurance company, right? He worked for himself. His job was flexible. We used to go, my one brother's 5 years older than me, and he was a wrestler in high school and University of Michigan. He's in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. And so I got thrown in the car, and they would travel to all his college wrestling meets. And my dad could do that because he had the flexibility that it was his own company. He could still make phone calls from the road and do things like that even back then. So I think it was kind of in my blood.
I love that because having two adult daughters ourselves, and they were
Yeah.
raised with us being entrepreneurs, but we changed tactics when our youngest was 11. She was in a boating accident. She's fine now
Oh,
and was fine relatively quickly, but it was serious at the time, and it
yeah.
made me realize that the career I'd picked up until that point had me traveling and away from the family so much. And I
Yeah.
realized that now that I had an 11 and a 13-year-old, this was not the time to be gone. And I'm so grateful that we had the opportunity to buy a business and to sink into that. And the kids were at the age where they
Yeah.
could help out. And they too,
Hmm.
more or less, they were interested. They came in and they saw what we were doing and they helped out and they provided ideas and they gave us their feedback.
Wonderful.
We're really part of the family business.
Yeah.
Now both of them are employed, and that may be where they're comfortable staying for the rest of their lives, or maybe at some point they'll realize that they want the
Mhm.
freedom for whatever reasons they choose, whether it's children or family or travel as well.
Yes, sometimes I know, like Jen's children, they've watched the entrepreneurial journey, and it's not easy. There is stress involved and there is uncertainty. You're not sure when you're going to get paid, if you're going to get paid sometimes, income isn't always guaranteed. So I think that they wanted to have that security. So they pick jobs that they knew that they would get a paycheck and have that security. But I remember there was a time when there were some layoffs and we had some people in our circle that got laid off from their job. And I thought, well, one thing for sure, I told Jen, you and I will never get fired, right? We know we have job security because we're employed. We just have to, if business is slow, then we just have to shift or pivot, right? Because like all of us did during COVID, you had to pivot some and sometimes come up with new products or services, and technology changes. You have to stay innovative. So sometimes a regular job is where you're just doing the same thing all the time and you don't have to have as much growth or innovation. But when you're an entrepreneur, it's a constant growth and innovation type of thing.
Absolutely. I'm making a note because there's a question I'm going to ask a little bit later. But first, I wanted to say, before all of this, I mean, you had a W-2 at one point as well, before a lot of this came up. You talked about being a media mogul. Do you want to tell us about that a little bit?
Oh, being, like having a job, a W-2 job.
Yeah.
Well, I had very few, almost no W-2 jobs.
Oh,
So
okay.
when I started out, I was an auto show model way back when, and I would tour back in the day when they had sequin dresses and you were up on the stage and touring around with your car. It was very glamorous. It was in the 80s. Um,
Wow.
and then from there, I went on to get my first job in TV, and I was a news anchor. And again, I was an independent contractor.
Oh, see, I did not know
In
that.
that time, I also was a commercial actress. So I had jobs doing commercials. I did a gig with Tim Allen before anybody really knew who Tim Allen was. They just posted a picture about that on my Instagram recently. So had done that, was still an independent person doing children's theater and different things, also while I was still doing news. And then they brought me on to do relations. So that was probably the first where it was a W-2. But then I met my husband, and then we became owners of a business that we're starting from scratch. So really, and then did real estate redevelopment. So really never had a W-2 job. The only W-2 job I had was when we were starting the station. We had to pay ourselves something. And I remember we had to do the minimum. I got $250 a week was my pay at the TV station, and all the rest was just, distributions and things like that. So yeah, I think I was just always, I didn't have a regular day job, that was that W-2 and then transferred over into that.
Well, that's fascinating because I knew that you had worked in television as an anchor. I didn't know that that wasn't a W-2. I thought that
Yeah.
that was. So, see, learn something new every day. So you were an independent contractor even then.
Yes. And you know why they did that was they were having problems. They were trying to bring the union into the TV station on the engineering and production side. So to keep me out of that circle, the strategy, they had a conversation with me. We want to hire you as a 1099. Is that okay with you? And what did I know? I was like 24 years old. I'm like, yeah, sure. I didn't even know the difference back then. Works for me. And so that's, I think, why they did that back, kind of stayed the same.
Okay, well, that is fascinating. Okay, I have to ask Tim Allen. I mean, can you tell us a little bit more? I mean, that's kind of juicy.
Yeah, it was before he was Tim Allen. And so it was a it was an industrial film. That's what I'm looking for. It was an industrial film that we did. And the premise was like a Tonight Show. So he was behind the desk like the Johnny Carson, and I was the sidekick. So I sat in the chair next to him and I was like the straight person while he was the comic. And I don't know what was going on with him at this point in his life. And I know he had some issues with substance abuse and things like that. But Tim, I'm not bad mouthing you really, but you weren't really on time. And I don't know, he had that whole shtick that he did of the, the man thing. And we didn't have an audience. It was just the crew. And I think it played so deadpan in the studio. And I remember we were in post editing and I had to meet the producer slash director because I had to do a voiceover for part of it. And he said, can you believe Tim Allen just got this gig for a sitcom? And I was like, yeah. And he looked at me and he goes, he was terrible. And I go, I'm glad you said that. And I didn't say that. In the industrial film, he was awful. It was not his thing. And we had even he and I talked about doing a talk show together because we had great chemistry.
Ah.
And I'm like, think of that, because they were starting kind of those morning shows where they had the two people, a man and a woman that were doing a talk show. And we were saying, yeah, that might be cool. But then he got picked up for the sitcom and it just blew our minds. And the rest is history.
Wow. Yeah, in fact, I have seen him recently on television in his current sitcom that he's part of. And we were talking a little before we started the show about, what we feed ourselves with.
Yeah,
Where do we put our attention? How do we relax? Because you need to relax and it's good to have
right.
comedy. But sometimes what we're consuming, and this goes back to all types of media, including publishing,
Yeah,
what we're consuming can impact us in more ways than one. I
for
can share my
sure.
story with that in a moment, but I'll let you feed into that first.
Yeah. And that's why at our company, we love books that we say are inspirational, motivational, or educational. We want things that are going to feed somebody's mind. And that's part of my legacy, that I feel like I'm in a position where I can help people who have a message, who might not have any idea how to get their book out there and get their message out there. And we have that solution for them. And I just love working with people like that. And I'll tell you what, we offer this thing called a VIP book creation day. So I am not on the ghostwriting editing side of the team at all. I'm the marketing. Let's make it a bestseller. Let me show you how to use this for your business and get a speaking career. But I do take part when someone steps up and does a VIP book creation day with us. I am there with the ghostwriter all day.
Mm.
And I get to hear the stories firsthand, and we create the chapters and we hear all of this beautiful, wonderful, inspirational content and the richness of the stories that came through from that. And some of it, might start with a bad one. Like I have one coming up next, and she sent me some of her content. And I'm like, part of her story is that she was in a car with a boyfriend who was beating her with one hand and she's trying to get out, right? And she escaped. But then she has all these things that she learned and from this experience. So bad things can happen to you. And that's sometimes you and I were saying, well, why do we watch the FBI crime shows? But sometimes there's bad things that happen. But then what is the beauty that can come from that? How can you learn and come from the ashes to make this a beautiful, wonderful thing? I mean, I don't want to cry here. I'm getting goosebumps, but all those children that passed away in Texas, it's like, how does that turn into something beautiful,
Yeah,
even though it was so horrific?
awful.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And especially hitting home because you're in Texas. I know
Right.
I mean, it affected all of us, so I hope it did.
Yes.
But yeah, especially hard that
Yeah.
one.
So,
Yes,
and it's just kind of
truly.
like feeding your mind, right? So we know that when we're watching garbage on TV or things that are dark, then it kind of takes our space into a dark space. Like
Yep.
if you, I have a friend of mine, and this was a long time ago, and she said, "All right, I want you to do this challenge and only listen to Christmas Christian music on the radio."
Mhm.
And just see if it makes some kind of shift in you. And just like yesterday, I just discovered, I think his name is Frank Forrest or Forrest Frank. And I didn't even know he was a Christian artist. And I picked him up and I was like, I want a song about a good day, having a good day. So I
Ah,
went to YouTube and
love
I said,
that
a
song.
good day song. And this song came up and it was just so, it just makes you happy and joyful. And so I guess if you have a choice, and you do have a choice, you can fill your mind and your spirit with things that are joyful versus things that are dark and depressing. My one son was struggling with some mental health issues. And when I listened to some of his playlist, it was really like, life kind of sucks playlist, oh, I'm down, life isn't good, I'm feeling depressed. And I'm like, well, hello, maybe you're feeling depressed because you're listening to songs of people telling you that they're depressed.
Yes.
And so anyways, we get a choice every day to wake up either happy or negative or grateful, or a choice to say that, oh, it's another day.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm grateful. I woke up and I'm breathing today.
Yeah.
I get another shot at the day and to maybe make somebody else smile or inspire somebody else. Even if this podcast goes nowhere, LeAnn, hopefully maybe I inspired you in some way and you inspired me, right? That we could take that and plant those seeds out to other people. That's the other thing I think that's beautiful about content is this content that you create with a book now can spread. I always say it's like the foundation for your content. That book can turn into thousands of social media posts, right? Can turn into thousands of little video clips, can be spread without, and you never know whose hand your book or your content's going to get into. I have a book that I wrote from my TEDx talk, that a guy wrote me a letter it was an American citizen from a Japanese prison, and said he had gotten my book. Now, I have no idea how he got my book because he didn't tell me, and how my book inspired him and motivated him to write his own story while he was there, because it was one of those scams of, hey, give us X amount of money and we'll turn it into this and blah, blah, blah.
And
And
ended up in prison?
yes, ended up in prison because well, anyways. And so it was just so heartfelt that he got my book and that it inspired him and gave him hope to do something that would have value while he was there to maybe help someone else. So you just never know whose hands your book is going to get into. I had
Yep.
another guy that wrote me from another prison about one of our books. So I don't know. I guess I'm popular in prisons. I don't know how they're getting my book, but
Well, and the same thing here. I say a little prayer that just says, we don't know who will hear it. And so I
right.
say the prayer that, hey, whatever we say here, I know you believe as I do that the God of all things knows everything from beginning to end. So that he knows
Right.
who's going to hear us. He knows the impact that this show is going to have. It's our duty to be here and to play it out. That song, Good Day, I use it
Yes.
in a lot of my reels. It's a really excellent, for anybody that creates Facebook and Instagram reels, you can find it really easily. And if I don't do it before this drops, I've long intended to put my Spotify lists available. Like you can do that. You can publish your Spotify list. And I have several.
Yeah.
One that is for hard days, one that is just for praise. You just got to go to the right playlist at the right time. When I switched to listening to primarily, I won't say exclusively, but primarily Christian music, at one point somebody said, there is other music, there are other stations. I said, yes, I get that. And when I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and a song is playing in my head, I want it to be one of these songs, not
Yeah.
one of the songs that will send me down a spiral and keep me awake all night.
Right. Yeah. And I kind of off kilter, but when like I would have a breakup with someone, like if you have a romantic breakup, I couldn't listen to the radio at all. All the songs are about either falling in love or falling out of love. And I'm like, I just can't do it. I can't do it.
Right. Well, we're going to take a quick break here. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about publishing and writing and, this thing called AI. Maybe it's had a
Ooh,
little bit of an impact on what you do.
yeah.
You talked about the shift in 2008, 2009. We've had a whole nother shift going on in the last year or two. So I look forward to that, and we will be right back.
Hey, sales setters, are you ready to jumpstart your entrepreneurial journey or give your business a powerful refresh? Join us at the next and Restart Your Business Summit, where you'll discover the tools, strategies, and inspiration you need to thrive. Learn more at joyminder.com. That's JOYMINDER.com, and look for the Restart Your Business Summit icon. Don't miss out. Your future business awaits.
And we're back with Melanie Johnson, media mogul from Houston, Texas, one of my favorite places to visit. I really do love Houston. I love being on the ocean, and just there is something about Houston that I like a lot. Probably will never live there. Sorry, not a fan of hurricanes. And
Yeah.
although everybody's like, well, you have tornadoes. Pretty rarely, pretty rarely. And you get tornadoes down in Houston too.
Yeah,
So
you
not
can.
moving
We
there.
had one last year.
Yes, indeed. Well, and the hurricanes bring on tornadoes. They're kind of part and parcel,
Yeah.
from what I understand. But we have their own kind of hurricane happening in the world where it's really stirring things up. It's drawing things in off the ocean, if you will, of the world, and that's AI.
Yeah.
And it's really stirring things up. So you're in the publishing world. You've been publishing 3,000 books. You've
Yeah.
done, wow, amazing. And I love the fact that you have the goal of being inspirational. Now you just got to get your Spotify lists up, where people can be inspired too. But how is AI change? Well, give us a little history. I mean, you've done this pre-AI, and what's happening now with AI and what you're doing? Where's the future?
So, yeah, I'll tell you kind of a journey of where we came from. So, we started using AI probably 5 years ago. There was a little tool called Jasper that we found out about it. And it was kind of, you could rewrite things. You could give it a prompt and you could say, write this like John Wayne, and it would. So we were using that, and it was kind of fun to play with. And then AI came roaring in, right, a couple years ago. And it's still the wild, wild west. We're not sure how it's going to affect the publishing industry. So a lot of things have happened if we get into the deep minutia of it. So Amazon now asks you, is your book created 100% by AI? Was it assisted by AI? Did you use any part of it? But then you're wondering, well, are they going to use that information against me? Are they at one point going to say, I'm sorry, if you said your book was 100% AI, we're now taking it off? Because we're seeing of that, and just for no reason at all, books are being taken off. We had an author this week, her book's not even out yet, and they canceled her account. So
When you
crazy
say
stuff like
canceled
that.
when you say canceled her account, what does that mean exactly?
So we go in before the book is launched, right? We have to set up the author profiles. We create the name, address, all of that stuff, put a credit card in there,
Mhm.
um, get the files ready, start picking categories, doing all the the basic content information. So now you have an account, and now it's just ready to upload the book. Well, so her book's not even uploaded, and they shut her account down. So we just started a whole new one, is what we did with hers. It was just crazy stuff like that. I mean, that's not even AI stuff, and
Well,
then Amazon also, they were not allowing AI voices for audiobooks, but now they offer their own AI voices. You can use an Amazon AI voice, of course, right? You can't do it, but we can do it, pay us to do it.
right.
So those things are going on the publishing side of it, of what is happening. For if you're writing, my rule of thumb is, like, let's just say you're doing a book. For
Mhm.
a book, I'm saying it's 20/80, 20/60/20, right? And it might even be a little bit more on the other side. But so 20% you need to have your input, having the right prompts, having them really robust prompts, putting content that you already have uploaded into ChatGPT or Gemini or GenSpark, whichever one that you like to use. And then having your tone of voice in there is really important as well. So we do custom GPTs where people's voice, like I have my own, make it sound like Melanie. So it uses the language that I use and the tone and the energy. And then start creating, saying, I want to write a book. This is the top. We're coming out with a new book called Be Recognized. And that's how we started it. Jen and I went away for a weekend. We uploaded all of this content. We said, give us an outline. We picked out things that we wanted. And we said, okay, now, give us bullet points for this chapter. And then we started creating things. But the thing that AI doesn't know are your stories. Yes. Right? It doesn't know what's inside your head. So unless you give it that content or then are adding that content, even though we had uploaded a lot of things already. So we really needed to add our personal stories to each chapter and tweak it. So it was still a lot tougher than just, oh, AI is just going to write the whole book for me. And you can tell when it's just AI, it doesn't have a soul. I'm just telling you. So you need to make it sound like you. You need to have your content, what's in your head, put in there. You can use it to rewrite it, to edit it. So then, it can help you create and get ideas and brainstorm. And then you've got to go back for that other 20% and really work it and make it yours. Otherwise, you're just not going to connect with people. It's all about really having that authenticity and being able to connect with your audience so they feel like they know you after they've read your book, especially we're talking nonfiction books here versus fiction, correct?
Yeah. Well, yes. And that's primary. Your focus is in nonfiction versus fiction. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Great time to have fiction. When I was on vacation over the summer, I read 2 fiction books in 3 days, and it was wonderful.
Oh, great.
But not something I indulge in frequently because I really love to learn and I love to expand and grow. Yeah. But likewise, if you rely too heavily on AI, you actually risk it saying things that you don't even agree with. I mean, you really have to be careful with that, don't you?
Well, and it makes things up. So when we were doing, this rough draft, it was making, like we said, we want an example, like we were hoping it would pull like from our website or videos and things like that of like, real life example of this happening. And they just made up people and companies and situations. And you're like, okay, can't have that in there. So it does make up data sometimes. It does make up situations. So you really have to double check that and really edit it and have a good hand on that. Where I'm using it the most and where our company is using it the most is really, there's the writing, creating, and book part, but then there's also the part of how do you make your systems easier and simpler. You and I had talked about, gosh, even with a podcast, we use software called Descript. And with AI, it helps you edit automatically. It does so many things to make your life easier. So it's looking at your business and saying, how can I take each of these processes or things that we're doing it? Is there somewhere to make it easier using artificial intelligence? How can I make it faster, easier, quicker? So we have these really amazing prompts within ChatGPT that we're using. One is called like the billionaire prompt, where it channels Jeff Bezos, Mark Cuban, different people, and we can ask it questions. So we layer that with like my voice in there. And we'll say, hey, write an email sequence about this topic for our company. And it has our ideal customer we've loaded in there and all the information about our company. And then we say, have it do it in my tone. And then it spits out an email series for us. And then we can tweak it from there. So think if their person had to create all those emails from scratch, writing them, a writer would take them hours. This, we have first drafts within minutes, right, from doing that, and then it can just be edited and approved from there. So our process has gotten so much faster with so many different tasks that we do.
And not only with post-production, because you have 2 podcasts, I have this podcast. Mm-hmm. It's not just post-production. For me, I've stepped into with Beyond the Business Plan of doing solo episodes, which, by the way, has been a little harder than I expected. It's fun. I love this because we can feed off of each other's stories and so on and so forth. When you're doing a solo episode, it's all you, it's all your knowledge, and no AI is stepping in to fix things or to interact. So you really have to use your imagination in essence to imagine a 30-minute monologue with your ideal person, which is fun as well. But I use AI to prepare for those more so. Mm-hmm. I don't need AI to prepare for this because now I have, you and your amazing stories and your desires and
Ah,
everything. I love it. I don't
thank
need that. But when it's just me, yeah, I
yeah.
absolutely go in and I say, help me with a really great beginning. Give me some bullet points I could go through, but it has to then come back to my stories filling in the blanks. Because if I just go through there and say, systems are important because systems matter because systems da 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 da, and I don't give any context to it, well, nobody's going to listen to that.
So think about if you do like a custom GPT for your show,
Mhm.
and then you have a prompt in there that has the format that you want to do. I want to start with a story. I
Mhm.
want to start, and then I want, to say, give me 5 bullet points on systems, right,
Mhm.
that I can use and give me some data that I can put in there, like whatever it is. So then it knows when you put it in there, you don't have to put the prompt in or think about what you're doing. You have a show format. And let's take it a step back. Say, create a prompt for me with a show format for this show. Here's a
Yep.
couple of my shows. How can I improve my format? And then come up with a prompt to make a format for me every week that I can put a topic in.
Yep.
So
That's
see how
exactly
you're
what I do.
taking it, like layering the onion back. And so then it's improving it. And then we even took our website. This was a great thing that we did. And I said, how can we get found by AI?
Yeah.
And it gave me all of these things we needed to change. And then I asked it, like they said, we needed to change our FAQs. So I said, all right, now analyze the FAQs. That was just one of like the 10 things we needed to do. And I've said, now analyze our FAQs and give me the questions and the answers that I need to have. And so I added like 15 new questions in there with answers. I had to tweak the answers some, but we've had 2 inquiries that searched us on ChatGPT that found our company.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I do website design occasionally when I feel like it's the right thing for my client. I did
Yeah.
one recently for a handyman service and same idea. What do I know about a handyman service? Not much. But I asked ChatGPT as like what are the most common questions? What are the most common answers? And then I filled them in, ran them by the client, said, "Hey, this is what we're going to put up," and tweaked
Yeah.
it a little bit. But yeah, it's a beautiful way to be able to design. In fact, even this morning I'm in a rebrand and redesign of Joyminder Solutions.
Yeah.
And what are we putting above the fold and how are we including different pieces, including our new sailing system, which is
Yeah.
a different topic, but and using not just ChatGPT, I use Perplexity more often, but
Yeah.
whatever AI matches to really help those struggling
Hmm.
professionals that are like, I'm so burned out, step
Yeah.
into that next step of their life, which is really what the show is for.
Yeah.
Where can we help inspire? If you're listening and you're like, yeah, that's me. I identify, I'm a burned out teacher, I'm a burned out lawyer, I'm a burned out, something that you loved to do when you were 20 and now you're stuck because you're making good money,
Yeah.
but you're not living your best life.
And there's
That's
so
what
many
the
people
show's
that are in that transition,
so
right?
many.
They're transitioning from one thing to the other. And how do you reinvent and recreate yourself?
Yep.
It's a big thing. We're helping clients now do that by creating their being the one and their personal brand.
Yep.
And, the cornerstone of that, I believe, is a book. So we help them with the book or a manifesto, maybe a slate. And then we create a whole business plan for them that we use AI as a companion, but we develop their avatar, their marketing plan, the products they should sell, the price point for different products to lead them in, and really creating a whole like suite of things for them to create their new personal brand. Or maybe they have a brand, but they feel like it's stale and they need to have that reinvigoration.
Yep.
And now it's so much easier. So we stack tools. So, a lot of times people are just using Perplexity or GenSpark or ChatGPT or Manus. But now you can stack different tools that do different things. Like one that we love is called Oasis. Have you ever used Oasis?
I have not yet. No.
So Oasis, you could put even just one sentence in, or you could upload your book and it'll create within seconds all of this content. It'll create an article, a New York Times article, a blog post. It'll create 10 Twitter slash X post. It'll create quotes from there that you can use. It does all of these things. It creates like 20 different types of content for you within seconds that you have that you can start to use. So taking that and layering it in, so it automatically is going from one tool to the other tool to the other tool to create this whole package for our clients.
Exactly. And that's why I'm excited to say that you will be part of the upcoming Restart Your Business Summit, where
Yes.
you will be pouring into our attendees. So anybody listening, the tickets are free. Melanie will be part of the September Summit, which is going to run from September 16th through 19th. And it's just 2 hours a day. It is during the daytime. So if you can't attend, then you are able to purchase the recording so that you can listen to them later. They're also up available temporarily. But we're very excited that you're part of that and what you offer and how people can potentially engage with you after the fact is great. But I know you're going to bring great value during your time on stage as well. Do you want to give us a little tip on what you're going to share?
Well, we're going to dive deeper into AI, like we talked about, and into my secrets of how to get your book written fast with and without AI. Okay. So you're going to walk away feeling like you're inspired and you're going to get some real usable tools that you can take and use right from there.
Perfect. Well, that's exciting. In between now and then, and of course, this is coming out just a few weeks before the summit, but how can people find you, Melanie,
Yeah,
online?
you can go to our website, eliteonlinepublishing.com. A lot of people connect with me directly on LinkedIn, Melanie C. Johnson, or you can go to our Instagram. Elite Online Publishing's Instagram is a great place to check us out and get more content. And YouTube. Of course, you mentioned we have 2 YouTube channels, and we do a lot of content on YouTube in general.
Excellent. Final. What would you say to aspiring entrepreneurs who are currently burned out professionals? What
You
would you?
know, action takers are money makers. People who take action are the ones that go forward. So step through any fear that you have of, oh, I'm not good enough. I don't think I can do it. I don't know enough. You can do it. Find the right people that you can surround yourself with and take that next step for yourself. It is scary, but be an action taker. And I will tell a quick little story. I injured myself water skiing 10 years ago. I was a really good slalom water skier, and getting up, I blew out my hamstring, and I just didn't want to water ski anymore after that. I'm like, I'm too old. I don't want to hurt myself. It takes too long to recover. And then last year I decided, all right, I'm going to get up on 2. And I was like, I'm so lame. I'm getting up on 2 skis, but I did it. And then this year I slalomed again. I thought, you know what? I got to take my own medicine. Just don't be fearful. Just do it. You can do it. So that's the message of the day. Take action, drop that fear behind you, and just go for it.
Well, Melanie, anytime you want to come up to Minnesota and visit the birthplace of water skiing, which is Lake Pepin, it's just a really wide part of the Mississippi River. It would be so much fun to hang out with you some more. This has been a delight having you here today.
Would love to hang out with you more too, LeAnn. That sounds a great invitation. You never know. I might take you up on that.
You are welcome anytime. For anybody listening, Minnesota, we do not pay tax on clothing. You can pay for your trip. Come to the Mall of America, millions of square feet of shops and clothing, and don't pay tax on your clothing. Come to Minnesota and buy
I
it
love
here.
it. So wait to do my spring or fall shopping and come up there, right?
Totally, and such
8%.
great stores.
Yeah.
Really a good time. All right. Well, thanks again, Melanie.
Thanks, LeAnn.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on our show, Beyond the Business Plan to Unleash not our, but your joyful business. Remember, entrepreneurship is a voyage you can take with others, so find your tribe for the journey. And give us a like or subscribe or whatever you do on your favorite podcast or video platform to keep shining and aligning with your purpose and Joyminder Solutions. And come on back next week for our next inspiring episodes. And until then, I'm LeAnn Lyon, your Chief Joy Officer, signing off. Keep spreading the joy, keep leading with heart, and I will catch you on the next wave of success. Hey, coffee aficionados and entrepreneurs, LeAnn Lyon here. Are you craving that caffeine kick, but looking for a healthier alternative? Well, 9 years ago, I discovered the ultimate collection of energizing options to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit without the jitters. Discover your next favorite pick-me-up today and keep your business dreams brewing strong. Hear what it did for me by visiting this website, whyIlovemycoffee.com. Yes, that's the URL, whyIlovemycoffee.com, because your peak performance deserves more than just another cup of joe.
Thank you all for joining us today on Beyond the Business Plan. It's been a joy and a privilege to share this space with you. For more inspiring stories, tools, and actionable insights, make sure to follow us on your favorite video platform. Visit my website, LeAnnLyon.com, and keep leading with heart. And I'll catch you on the next wave of success.